And welcome to One Stop Co-op Shop. This is Steve. I'm here with a preview of Stonesaga. So in this video, I'll be going over a quick overview of the game, followed by a first impressions. Well, Kim will be joining me for that section. So if you're interested in just hearing about the first impressions, just click on the timestamps below to skip ahead to that. So Stonesaga is a fully cooperative survival campaign game being published by Out of My Mind Games. Designed by Luke Eddy and Max Brook. And in this game, you and up to 3 other players will be playing as, nomads, leading their prehistoric tribe into a valley that's surrounded by ice. So you will be exploring the wilderness with different landscapes and trying to gather resources and turn those resources into useful elements you can leverage to craft items. And from these items, you'll be building an entire civilization. However, you're not alone in this. Not only be working with other people doing mini games such as fishing and mining and delving and foraging and hunting, all sorts of really fun little mini games to do, but there may also be someone who also a giant behemoth that followed you into the valley. So you'll be also encountering them along your way. This game does have legacy elements to it. You'll be rolling up a character, and the character will age and eventually die due to old age, or maybe some unfortunate circumstances. Hopefully not that. But you'll be going through generation after generation of characters as your entire civilization explores this new land they've encountered. If you're interested in hearing about this game in more depth, go check out our playthroughs. We have 3 of them covering the entire demo we were sent from Out of My Mind Games on our streaming channels. I'll have links in the description below. With that said, let's cover our first impressions of this game. And Kim's here. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
We're here to talk about our first impressions of Stonesaga. So this game, honestly, I really, really like. Just put it out there right now. So I got into it. I wasn't sure about the legacy aspect of it. Sometimes the legacy games go well for me. Sometimes they don't. I don't always want to have a legacy element in games. But this one actually won me over. And it won me over in a big way because I felt like even the legacy aspects I ran into added to the experience in a big way. And the legacy aspects specifically are the character creation and death, where I don't like being forced to choose a new character in games. I get attached to my characters. And in this one, the nice thing about it is, yeah, they die from old age or maybe some horrible circumstances we won't get into.
That's right.
But I don't feel like they're gone forever because there's a legacy card I can pull on their skills and character stats in the game, which helps with the mitigation factors of encountering different things, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think that was a good, touch on it. I think you see a little more like theme value in that than I do, because for me it's like, okay, it's their character card, you get to use their skill instead of your own,
Right.
Which thematically it's like you're using their teachings,
Right.
Which is a cool aspect, and it can help, like you said, mitigate a situation you might find yourself in. But I think you lean on that a little bit more heavy than I do.
Yeah, that's true. So. Probably. And the other thing I thought was really cool is the cave wall paintings, basically. So as you're going through the game, you're documenting your experiences by drawing these simple glyphs. And you don't have to be an artist. It's honestly just a simple shapes and everything. But it's really cool at the end to say, hey, this is the story of our civilization. Looking at the end of your play, whatever you experience, or your character, their life story in these glyphs. Very, very cool effect on that one.
I know. I can see you, when this comes out, if you get all the stuff and our story ends, you're going to be like, hey, can we just paint like around the room the mural of our adventures?
That's right.
Like,
yeah,
right.
For sure. Nice touch. I mean, that is basically the majority of the legacy we've seen in the game. Of course, we've only seen a small portion of the game because this was a demo, just a tutorial, honestly, of the game. And things are changing. So what we did play and experience is actively changing based upon feedback being given from other previewers and honestly just the public feedback as well, which is a great thing that the team is so open to any of these changes or suggestions we may have. Yeah, one of the things that I wasn't sure about is the lucking into it. One of the things was the rolling up a character. Because originally, when you played the game, you rolled up the character, and you can roll real low, and now you have low stats, and made it really difficult to kind of have a fun experience, especially solo in that game. Now, in our playthrough, Had an amazing roll.
I just went for it. I was really good in two things and really bad in the other
Which
two
is
things.
very polar.
And, we could have been like, that is terrible. But,
Right.
Instead we're like, this is too funny not to do. So we went with it. And it was an interesting experience. I had a good time with it.
I mean, even with those bad rolls, or half bad rolls, let's say, it still worked out.
Yeah, because I was always trying to hedge on my good skills. And then I'm like, Steve, I need you to come
Right.
help me out. Or I was, not knowledgeable enough to not sleep in the rain. And then I would just suffer the effects and just have to figure out a way to get around it or heal myself. And maybe Steve had to save me every once in a while. But
That's right.
it was just funny the way that it panned out.
Yeah, and I think in a co-op experience that won't be much of a factor because you, like you mentioned, you have the other player to help mitigate any shortfalls you might have, and not to mention the legacy aspect we talked about earlier. If you rolled low in one character, maybe you had a past character that had really good stats, and you could pull on those teachings knowledge.
Yeah. Now, if I had rolled that and I was playing by myself, I would have mulliganed.
Yeah.
I definitely would have been like, no, even if because it was still above the 13 minimum point count. I would have said, nope, we're just going to redo this and try again. I don't think I would have had a good time if I was by myself trying to figure all that out.
And I did try that in the demo. I actually set a character very low stats and try it out, and it was very difficult. So I actually don't recommend that from a solo standpoint. Now, everything I'm saying now might change. In fact, it did change because in the course of playing this game, that 13 rule was added. So I know the team's actively looking at that, trying to tweak it, and who knows what's going to be in the production copy. So, but long story short, that was one thing that popped up. The other thing that popped up that I was originally concerned about that turned into not being concerned was the randomness of the rolls. Because you encounter something, you roll d6, whatever you got is what you dealt with. There wasn't a whole lot to do to help with your stats, I felt like. You get boost, which is like a 1 or 2 to your +1 and +2 to roll, and some of the traits that might help you. But honestly, it only started that way. As we played through the game, we encountered items and skills and tools that allowed us to mitigate those dice in very interesting ways. Not even just a reroll. Like, you could actually flip the dice, for example. So if you rolled a 1, you can flip it to the other side to be a 6. So you had a lot of cool control of that. So I want to point that out there because I know when I came into it, I was expecting that, I might not like the luck in this game. Honestly, it goes away. It doesn't take very long until you encounter that stuff.
Yeah, it goes away, but you have to learn how to make it go away. And for me, like that crafting aspect of the game was really, really cool. Like going through the start of the game, I was like, yeah, this is fun. We're kind of exploring and walking around. But it wasn't really until we started crafting and I was learning how to put stuff together that I was like, okay, now I'm really interested and I'm engaged in this portion of the game a lot more.
The crafting is fantastic in this game. It is the best quality in the game, I would say. Like, the fact that you can take these two items and you can rotate them around in different ways, and the same two items produce different results is very cool, and it's very logical in that sense. If I take a stick and I put a point facing upwards, well, that might make a spear. But if I take that point and turn it sideways on that same stick in this orientation, well, now that might make an axe. It just makes a lot of sense. It's very cool how that works, and it makes it so that you can be clever as a player and uncover what's out there. In the demo we had I think 77 items or something crazy like that we can make. We only scratched the surface.
Yeah, we barely touched it, but yeah, I think that was what really grabbed me in the game was the crafting aspect. Like I said, which was really cool. It was really creatively done. And I really could just spend an hour just getting resources just to craft. I like I said, we played a game. I didn't leave the hut because I was just trying to figure out this puzzle.
You wanted that bow.
I wanted the bow.
Wanted that bow.
Yeah. I'm stubborn. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, that was really cool, and that also grabbed me. The other aspect that grabbed me a lot was the civilization part of it, being able to create a camp and build structures. So now you have a system that can build on itself and help you with that survival. Because that's one thing I liked a lot in games like Robinson Crusoe. Is at first you're like, oh man, I'm struggling, and this game is constantly beating me down. And at some point in Robinson Crusoe, you can build systems to help mitigate, like, the weather, for example. I felt the same thing here. where, oh man, I'm struggling trying to get water. Well, guess what? Maybe I can create a rain catcher or something. I don't know. Or maybe I can create a snare and maybe now get some more food a lot easier. Where I have to go spend my action to go find food all the time. So I really like that aspect. It's definitely in here, and there's a lot of buildings you can go about creating this one as well.
Hmm. Yep. Now, the thing though that I think we've talked about is by the end when we were building our little location, we got really comfortable there. And there
Yes,
was nothing that was driving me to go out and explore the rest of the game at that point.
correct.
So I know you mentioned that in the future they're looking at kind of tweaking that so that you are pushed a little bit more to get out of that comfort zone. I mean, you can only build so much in one, I'm going to call it a city center. I know that's not what it is.
Outpost.
One outpost.
Yeah,
So if you want to build the rest of the structures, you have to go build another outpost and do that.
right.
Um, so I think I'd be interested to see how they tweak that a little bit.
Yeah, you might notice it in our playthrough, especially our second challenge,
Hmm.
where we're focusing on the outpost itself. We didn't really leave camp because we had all the resources we needed right there. And what's being discussed, and it's probably going to change for the production copy, is the resources on each tile are probably going to be reduced, meaning that you may not find water on a ton of them. You may actually have to go out and get water, as opposed to like, well, there's like 5 of the 6 locations have water on it. I don't really need to worry about finding more.
Hmm.
I've got some flexibility there. So, like I said, demo, a lot of stuff's going to change. Another thing I want to point out is survival games, a lot of times they kind of beat you down. I would say that for Robinson Crusoe is definitely the case, where every card you draw is negative and you're just constantly, just crawling up a muddy hill basically, trying to survive. Frostpunk feels that way too, where you're just trying to make things meet. At some point in both those games, you can get a system that kind of counteracts those negative effects. In Stone Saga, while you are, fighting against the elements, it doesn't feel as brutal, which I appreciated as a difference comparing them to other survival games out there like that. Where, for example, one thing about the game is water and food, if you get both of them, helps you a lot. But you can survive on water or food, so it's not as punishing to have to get both all the time. But on the flip side, I don't want to suggest that it's very easy going to it. It's not. Like if you fail that roll, you'll be crushed by a boulder or whatever. It's still punishing, but it's not. I like it how it's not always negative,
Hmm.
and there's ways, and it's not always as difficult to get that survival system going. I would say, at least in the demo we played.
In the demo. Yeah, but at the same time, if you're dilly-dallying and not driving towards the goal, you're going to run out of time and lose the game.
Definitely.
And you may not realize that until it's too late and you're just not going to do anything about it. So be cognizant of what you're doing for sure in the game.
Which definitely happened to us because
Mhm.
we got into the crafting in a big
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, I started just hunkering down and I was a hoarder of goods and I just was crafting. I'm like, oh shoot, we have actual mission and goals to do that I wasn't really thinking about. So yeah, the game does want you to progress.
It's fun. Yeah, so that's going to tie into probably overall thoughts on this game. I really enjoyed this game. I like what you mentioned earlier, playing the start of the game. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the survival aspect. I tend to like these types of games, like
Mhm.
Frostpunk and Robinson Crusoe. Totally my jam. Enjoyed that. But when we hit the crafting, that system is so well done and so engaging. I got hooked.
Mhm.
And then like I said, the outputs at the end. Those two things made me feel like I am building a civilization. I'm having generational people coming through this, and I can customize my experience how I see fit with the. While this time, this Stony McStoneface, real character, uh, he's going to be more of the explorer, and your character is going to be more of the hunter, right? But
Mhm.
maybe next time I roll up a character, I'll be more of the hunter, for example, or who knows what will be. It allows for that freedom in the game in the same system without changing things a whole lot. You don't have to restart the whole game; just continue on where you are.
Yep.
So, what are your overall thoughts on this one?
I had a lot of fun with it. Like we said, it took me a little bit to get into it. It wasn't until we had crafting that I was more engaged into the game. You have the ability in your imagination to really suck yourself into the theme and
Mm-hmm.
into the characters, and you build the world in your mind more than I do. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that leads, more heavily to you liking the game. I enjoyed it. I had a great time. I can see myself getting stuck and stuck in that crafting world. So really needing to see how the game changes and updates so that it's going to force me and just my general play style to get out there and engage with the rest of the game as well.
And I think that's gonna be a big thing that because we only played the tutorial demo, it is really teaching. Hey, here's the basic actions you need to know. And the challenge 1, challenge 2 is here's the civilization building, and challenge 3 is the behemoth. And these are basically all tutorial missions. There are supposed to be, I believe, 20 challenges and like 80 some goals. We saw a fraction of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be really interesting to see coming forth with the Kickstarter how that's going to unveil and what the additional goals are going to be. Because there's a lot of potential in this. Like I said, we've only played a little bit of it, but the little bit we played, I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I had a really good time. And the fact that I think you touched on it earlier where it's going to be a commitment to really get through everything.
Right.
And when I was first sitting down, I was like, do I really want to make that commitment? Is it going to grab me enough? And I think it will, because there's so much that you can learn, and you're jotting notes down, and it's just a very big engrossing world that you can explore that I think will hold me personally for a longer amount for a campaign for me. So
yeah, excellent. Yeah, the mini games are really cool and fun. I enjoyed a lot of them. So it was a fun game. Absolutely. Go check this out on the Kickstarter. Like I said, the link will be down below. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment sections. I'll do my best to answer them. But like I said, we do have those playthroughs. You will see more in depth how that works. We went through basically the entire demo in those 3 videos. That's getting into all the nooks and crannies we can talk about in that. But yeah, that's the summary of Stonesaga. So that's going to wrap up our discussion. We both really enjoyed this game. Go check it out on Kickstarter. And thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you at the next stop.
bye.
Bye-bye.